On this episode of One on One, very pleased to have Mr. Will Theriot with us, and he's done so much for the community and the military museum. We're going to talk with Mr. Will right after the break. Don't go away. One on One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer. I mean, I saw President Eisenhower's plane.
Yes.
I've seen artifacts in there, and I'm going, well, how did we get that in Terrebonne Parish? You're competing with other museums.
The Eisenhower airplane is quite a unique story. When he retired, that airplane went to the Air Force Academy, and they were using it to train the cadets. We had a visitor from Florida one day who said, I jumped out of that airplane when I was at the Air Force Academy. And so when the Academy was through with it, it went to the Nebraska National Guard. When it got through there, I don't remember who the governor of Louisiana was at the time, but it became the property of the Louisiana Museum system. It was stationed in Patterson, and Patterson was going to build a new museum and vacate the place where this was. So they said, if you want that airplane, you have to apply for it with the state. And at the time, we were in competition with a air base in Georgia who wanted the airplane. We decided it was such an interesting and unique artifact. Mm-hmm. There were only two of these airplanes in this, that the president flew.
Right.
We have the logbooks of every flight that airplane made. And we have the logbook of one flight where the president's guest was Field Marshal Montgomery, and they flew from D.C. to this president's farm at Gettysburg. 30-minute flight, who the passengers were. And one of the pilots of that airplane at the time was still living, Major Thomas. And we got in touch with him, and he was going to fly to Houma to sit in that airplane, and then he got ill and couldn't make the trip. So unfortunately, he passed away. But there's a lot of history with that airplane, and it's very, very unique.
And there's so much history, just walking in there and seeing my dad's uniform and other
Yes.
people getting to enjoy.
Yes,
Otherwise, it would be in a closet somewhere,
yes, yes.
on display now.
Many of our artifacts were people, what are you going to do with this? It's been in the attic. One interesting artifact that we received that we no longer have, a man walked in one day and he said, I'm working on an old house and I found this in the closet. Would you all be interested? And it was a bomb. And it was an early type bomb with the propeller on the front. And the reason for the propeller is that as it would fall, the propeller would spin, and that's what would arm the bomb. So we called the Houma Police Department. I says, we need some help. We got this bomb, we don't know. We don't know if it's live or not. And so a sergeant and a rookie policeman came, and the rookie policeman started spinning the top.
Oh. Did everybody dive?
Had to be pushed back and reprimanded. We called the state police, who in turn called the bomb squad from Fort Polk.
Right.
And they came and they went to the city dump and they detonated the bomb. It was a live bomb.
It went off.
Yeah, it was a live bomb. But the bomb squad took care of it. They did.
Wow.
So that was a very interesting day at the museum.
Yeah, Mr. Will, I got this thing. It looks like a bomb here.
I know, here it is. But a lot of artifacts were in attics and stuff like that.
So that was in somebody's house.
It was in somebody's house all these years.
That's incredible. As you go through it and you see it grow,
Yeah.
it's got to be just a confidence builder for everybody around it that you're seeing this museum take off.
Yes.
And it's not in a major city.
Yes.
It's right here in Houma.
It's almost on a daily basis. People come in with some artifacts. We reached a point now where some of the stuff we have so much of that we have to find another source for them to get rid of it. We have over 1,200 uniforms. You get to where we have no place to put it.
Well, you don't have 1,200 mannequins, so you can't put the.
That's it. You're right.
You don't have room for
You're
1,200
That's it.
mannequins.
That's it.
Do you have room to grow in
Our
different directions?
Our second floor and third floor are vacant. Except the third floor has all of our very, very vast research library.
Yeah.
But because the walls, the whole floor is not complete, so the fire marshal says you can't occupy it until you do certain things. And because we lack funds, we have to wait.
Let me make this plea right now. Anybody watching that wants to help, it's a tremendous asset to our parish. Who would they call, you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
A lot of people in Terrebonne Parish have never seen our museum. Right here in Houma, people say, oh, we passed by there, but we've never been. Mm-hmm. So on the 22nd of June, we're going to host an open house.
I saw that.
Come on in. Come talk to us. Come visit with us. Free, no charge. And on July the 30th, we're going to have a fundraiser. It's going to be called Saturday Night with the Museum. We're going to sell tickets. We're going to have free food and entertainment. It's to be $30 per ticket per person.
Right.
And that's one way to raise funds. Later on, one of our big contributors has a bottle of bourbon that's 20 years old that sells for $5,000 a bottle. So later on this year, we're going to have an online auction. If you're a whiskey connoisseur and you want some 20-year-old bourbon, submit a bid. And the highest bid is going to get the bottle of bourbon. Another way to raise funds.
Innovative ways to raise money.
Yes, yes.
And it takes money to keep it going.
It takes money.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
We're looking for some donors that are willing to benefit the museum. But when we benefit the museum, you benefit the parish.
That's right. You have a special personality. Just talking about the people you worked for. I mean, Mr. Waits.
Yeah.
Are really in the Bradys.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, did you find your personality fit them well, or did you sort of morph in with them when you met them? Because those were very charismatic people.
My association with the Bradys was, when I left Volkswagen, I went to work for Brady Engine Company, and I went to work for them as a salesman. At the time, Brady Engine Company had 5 branches spread out, and the Morgan City branch manager got very, very ill, and so he had to retire, and Mr. Elwood Brady Jr. says, why don't you go there and run that shop for me? And I did. Mm-hmm. And so I worked for Brady Engine Company until the time when Mr. Brady's oldest son finished college. Mm-hmm. And he says, now I'm going to send him to run the shop. I owe it to him. So I'm going to put you back in sales. And at the time, Joe Waits Jr. and David Waits were in my Boy Scout troop. I was an assistant scoutmaster. So then I became friends with Mr. Waits. And then he said, I have a business venture. Are you interested? So I left Brady and went there, and then the oil crisis hit, so we sold that, and I went back to work for Brady for a while, and then in '86, things were looking very bad, and so a friend of mine was in the wholesale furniture business out of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. He says, come to work, and we're going to develop more territory, and that's what I did, till I retired.
Because when you look at Mr. Waits, who I knew my whole life, and you look at Mr. Brady, 2 very strong A personalities.
Yes, yes.
Knew what they wanted.
Yes.
Very determined.
Yes.
I see a little bit of that in you when you're at the museum. You want to do this, and so you go get it. That's probably why you're president.
Yes. My goal is to finish the museum.
Yeah.
And that's my goal.
I think you're going to finish the museum.
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm doing this for C.J. Chris. C.J. Chris founded this museum. Had it not been for Mr. Chris, there would be no museum. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that pushes me.
Yeah.
See it.
Because he was a catalyst, and he.
That's it.
He was driven too.
Yes, yes, he was.
And it takes driven people to make things happen, doesn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
Well, what are your short-term goals for the museum right now?
Well, my short-term goals is really to improve what's there now. There's always room for
To
improvement.
get that second floor, that third floor?
That's, yes, once we do that, then we can grow.
Right.
We are in the process of, across the street, where there's the F-4 Phantom jet, we're in the process of developing a memorial park where you can honor your deceased whoever, either with a memorial bench or a memorial plaque, and so that people can come and we'll have parking where they can park and walk through the park. Right now, our plans, long-term plans, to wind up with more military equipment across the street. We're in the process of looking at getting a tank that we can display, static display.
And I've seen when y'all they brought me on a little tour one day, sometimes y'all get equipment in that needs to be tweaked.
Yes.
It doesn't always work.
That's it.
So it takes mechanical minds to
Yes.
make it work.
Yes. Now, we're very, very fortunate in the fact that we have good people that will volunteer. Our present shop foreman is very dedicated and very good at what he does. Now, we're in the process of renovating. He found and located for us an international pickup truck of the type that served at the blimp base. So we have an exact duplicate. It needs a lot of work. That's what we're working on.
Which a lot of people don't realize we had a blimp base here in Houma.
You're right. You're right.
We had a camp, a prison
right.
camp, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
A lot of people don't know that.
Now, a lot of people don't know that in our museum, we have some artwork done by a German POW. He did magnificent work. And we learned through some of these displays, he wanted to come back to America. But at the time, in the 40s, they were not allowed to come back. But he served in a POW camp. And this goes back even before my time. There was a restaurant in Houma. It was a hotel called Rhodes Hotel and a restaurant. And one of the American guards who guarded the prisoners told the restaurant owner's son, "Give me a picture of your girlfriend, and I'll have this artist do a portrait." So from 3 little photographs, he did a full bust-type portrait of this lady. And it's hanging in our museum, along with the 3 photographs. Now, the lady in question was Miss Peggy Wurtler. And she was excited because the German prisoner painted her in an evening dress with pearls. And she said, "That was wonderful." She said, "I never owned pearls."
Well, yeah, he brought the luster up.
Yeah.
But that had to be especially touching to like Mr. Ray Marcella, who was a
Yes.
prisoner of war on the other side.
Yes.
That sort of brought it full circle, didn't it?
Well, interesting story. Mr. Ray's brother-in-law was Mr. Davidson, Charlie Davidson.
Yes,
They were brother-in-laws.
that's right.
And Mr. Davidson, did you know that he was involved in a plane crash?
He did. They finally
And-
found his plane.
In New Guinea, and the Australians found his airplane. And they brought it to Australia and completely renovated it. Invited Mr. Davidson and his wife to Australia, and they presented him with the wheel of his airplane.
That's right.
And we have that on display.
That's a great story.
Yes, yes.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
And there are so many stories. There's so many stories that take place. And Mr. Ray and Mr. Charlie were our librarians. They would be there faithfully every Wednesday, collecting books and arranging books. And so this is what enthused me in wanted me to be more involved because of these dedication of these men.
You know, I was interviewing Mr. Ray for one-on-one, just like this, and he started opening up.
Yes.
The deal I made with him before was, please don't ask me about
Yeah.
the prison camp.
Yes. Yeah.
I said, absolutely not. Well,
Yeah.
he started talking about
Yes.
it. He felt comfortable.
Yes. Yes.
And I remember some of the family members saying, we'd never heard that before.
Right. Yes.
As they get older,
Yes.
my dad too, they want to talk about it.
Well-
I guess to get it off their chest.
Right. Well, they didn't want the children to know the hardships they went
Very
through.
true.
Yeah, they don't want the children to know how much they suffered.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And then as they age, they says, well, I guess I need to tell them so they'll know.
Which is, we have so many interviews. And one day I guess I want to make copies, put a display, give you all the copies, and let you just run the shows.
Yes.
And they'll be running this show with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Somebody listening who wants to hear a little French, give us a little message in French. Invite them to the museum.
Bienvenue au musée militaire. C'est un plaisir que vous ayez été ici. On va vous montrer des avions, des voitures de militaires. On va trouver des parties de la France. Est-ce que les Américains étaient?
So if I say we, does that fit?
I mean, that's yes.
Mr. Will, if there was everybody you work with and everybody I could get together, and I was able to get your family, and I was able to get your daughter who's in the studio, and able to get your wife, and able to get Mr. Waits,
Yeah.
Mr. Brady, and I said, give me one word to describe Mr. Will. One word. What would you hope the one word would be?
That he's a nice guy.
Okay. So nice.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I
Now,
think that fits you pretty well.
okay, now we're going to digress from the museum for a moment, and I'm going to tell you a story that you may not be aware of.
Yeah.
The family name Terrebonne. Have you heard the family name Terrebonne?
I have heard the name Terrebonne. I don't know if I know the history.
The history is my grandmother was a Terrebonne, and my cousin did the family tree. And in the 1600s, the Dupré family left France and settled into a little town in Canada called Terrebonne Island. But they were Duprés. And when our ancestors decided they were not exiled, they came down the Mississippi River, and when they got here, they spoke French. They were in a new country, and whoever it was said, I need your name, and his name was Jean-Jacques Dupré. And the guy said, no, I have a Jean-Jacques Dupré already. Where are you from? And they were from Terrebonne. So I have the paperwork. It says Jean-Jacques Dupré du Terrebonne.
Wow.
And so they want to assimilate. Say, well, the guy says, I'm a Terrebonne, so I'm a Terrebonne. And that's where the Terrebonne family name originated. And when I retired, I went to Terrebonne. There are no Terrebonne families in Terrebonne. This is a name that was given to them when they came to the United States.
I never knew that.
That's an interesting story.
That's
yes.
why you're at the museum, because you are an historian.
Yes.
Yeah, you love
And
history.
I enjoy it.
I want to thank you for what you've done for our area. I want to thank you for being here, and we're going to continue to go and cover the events over there, and it's always good to see you, Mr. Will.
It's been a pleasure.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.